Hey everyone, it's your girl Maddie here, aka Beavermont, and today I am joined by Jeff from Weald and Woe, who put out an album almost a month ago now on July 4th, Far from the Light of Heaven. Jeff, thank you for joining me, and I'm curious, what has the reception to the record been?
It's been really good. Firstly, thanks for having me. And yeah, it's been cool. It's been a little different, I think, this time because people are somewhat more aware of us now than they were when our last album dropped and kind of caught a lot of people off guard. That's been good and bad because, some people have had some expectations of what this newest album should be
Yeah.
versus what it is and, artistic progression, blah, 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 all that. But overall, it's been really, really positive.
Yeah, no, that's good, and I noticed that as well. I covered For the Good of the Realm in 2023, but it was still kind of it didn't spread across the blogosphere, but this time I for Far from the Light of Heaven, I saw some reviews on some other websites besides mine, so I was cool to see.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
It's cool to see it organically get covered rather than through like us press blasting people or whatever. Like when people or publications or blogs or whatever that I'm not familiar with cover us, that's always in a weird way like the most satisfying because it's like, that happened by merit and not because I asked. And that always feels cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, something that I think I noticed about your music, I think it's probably intentional. There's this real medieval thing going on. How did you go about, like incorporating that into black metal? What was the idea behind that?
Um, I mean, TLDR obsequiae. I had an obsequiae obsession
Yeah.
that came around in towards the end of my 20s, like between 2015 2018, and I latched onto it, and it just was unique and unlike anything I had heard. And the guitars and the arrangements were done in such a way that I wanted to see if I could figure out how to do that myself, just kind of as like a technical challenge or a compositional exercise. And also that for me in a lot of ways kind of ended up embodying a lot of the music I wanted to create. Like I had kind of bopped around a lot in my mid and late 20s and even to some degree in my early 30s of like, man, what's my sound? What is it I'm doing? What is Weald and Woe supposed to be? And once I kind of figured out how to do like the Jeff Sequier version, that's kind of what it ended up being. But the medieval stuff has always kind of been an aesthetic fascination of mine from like elementary school, middle school through tabletop gaming and comic books and the game manuals to like the early
Yeah.
Blizzard games and stuff like that. And so it just kind of was something that I'd always wanted to incorporate, and it kind of just worked out that it found its way into my music, which I kind of had always hoped would be the case. But that's kind of how we got there. Was largely my thing, and I have a tendency to exert my will over everything that I'm involved in.
I always get excited when Obsequiae is mentioned because I'm from Minneapolis. They're a Minneapolis-based band. They're kind of like our
Yeah,
biggest export. So, yeah. Um,
yeah, yeah. Minneapolis has some great musicians, especially, but yeah, Tanner is a singularly talented individual for sure.
Tanner, I the man's resume is insane. Like he just plays with everybody. I don't understand how he does that.
Yeah, it's all bangers, no skips. Everything he does is incredible. And he is, I don't know if you've ever met him, but he is the nicest guy in the whole world.
I've never met him. I've seen him live a couple times. Last time I saw him live, he was playing keyboard for Panopticon, because of course he was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I didn't even realize that like he recently joined Crip Sermon of all bands.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just like, and what does he do? Yeah, he's playing keys for them, but he plays. I mean, he plays so much.
Yeah, when I saw him last, he was playing guitar and Holder.
Okay, I uh I saw Holder at Maryland Death Fest a couple months ago. I don't think he was playing guitar for them, but
No, it wasn't him. That was a different guy.
yeah. Um, let's talk your label, Fiadh. They're friends of the show.
Uh-huh.
Um, how what has been your relationship with them? What has it been like putting out music for Fiadh? I think they're a fantastic label.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So
Yeah.
anybody who is like kind of aware of my relationship with Fia is like Barry Ann is one of the few people on this planet that like no matter what she asked, I would do it. Like she is, the star in the night sky as far as
Yeah.
friends go. Like she is absolutely like one of the most important people in my life. Just broad statement. So
Oh yeah.
uh she would probably deny that, but she'd be wrong. So what had happened was we had written For the Good of the Realm, and we shopped it out to probably like 52 labels. I'd have to go back and look at my spreadsheet to be sure because I
Yeah.
kept track of all that. But it was like 50 labels. And I think she was like the 53rd label. And so I had emailed her. I sent her the Bandcamp link. I was like, hey, my name's Jeff. I'd love to work with you on this album. Please let me know what you think. Here's a link to the whatever. And then like 10 days went by and I didn't get a reply. And I was like, okay, cool. They're not interested. So I emailed her back and was like, hey, clearly you're not interested. Please let me know what I could have done better in my approach. Like what was it about either what I did or the music that didn't hit for you? And she was like, oh no, actually, oh my God, I would love to work with you. Um, which I later found out she thought that I had like sent it to her on accident. Like my email was too professional and that it must not have been for her. And I was
Wow.
like, that's silly. Yeah. But from there, it's like we just kind of, I don't know if you've ever felt like you've harmonically matched with someone, but she and I are just very much the same person in a lot of ways. And uh, we became fast friends very quickly and we are nigh inseparable now. But she's incredible. Like her desire to help you as a person, like she's oftentimes more interested in who you are as a person than your music. And I mean that positively. And that like she just is someone who is empathetic and sympathetic on a level that I don't resonate with. Sometimes she's like so wanting to help everyone.
Yeah.
It's the world needs more people like her, absolutely. And she has done everything that I've ever asked. And anytime it wasn't doable, I thought it was going to break her, just from the guilt of, oh no, Jeff, I couldn't help you with this or whatever. But um, from like a business partnership perspective, for the record, I'm not an employee of Fiadh Productions. I don't get paid by anything that she does other than like, like she releases my music. But
Yeah.
of some people, it's because I do her weekly TikTok, Instagram videos, and stuff like that. So a lot of people think that when they're emailing Fiadh, they're emailing me, and they don't
Really.
realize that it's like a small woman in New York City. Um, so yeah, because some people are like, "Hey, dude," or "Hey, Jeff," and she's like, "No, no, no, I'm a small woman in in New York." Um, so that's a funny thing, but she is she is the best. She works as hard as 10 people do on anything. Like her dedication to getting Weald and Woe's music out and released, and she goes the extra mile on everything. And that's just who she is as a person. So everything that you see with her online meme posting and the dedication to anti-fascism and being feminist and pro woman and pro LGBTQ, all that stuff is absolutely genuine. And she is the bee's knees.
Well, I mean, it's funny that like it's funny you telling that story because when I think of like Fia and like the aesthetic of what Fia is and like what they're kind of just overall vibe and what they put out, you
Mhm.
seem like a quintessential Fia band. Like you have the swords, you have the the medieval imagery. That just screams what Fia is all about.
Yeah, and like we both share a Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
obsession. We like the same books. We like somewhat of the same TV. She's far more into British things than I am, but um yeah, and that's kind of what I mean by being like harmonically aligned. We just kind of, if I had known her 10 years ago, we would have been best friends for 10 years. Like it just was kind of a serendipitous thing that she answered the email and said yes, and 52 other labels didn't. And I am thankful every day that it worked out that way because I've been, uh, if you're someone who believes in blessings, I believe that I have been blessed by her being in my life and Weald and Woe's life. And yeah, I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah. When I wanted to put out the charity compilation for Palestine, I was like, there's no one else I'm asking for this. Like she's probably gonna be the most willing person to do it.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She's like I said, she's got a heart bigger than her head. She is the kindest, most genuinely caring person I think I've ever come across. Sometimes to a maddening point, but she is she's terrific.
Well, let's talk about let's ask the stereotypical questions for
Sure.
a metal interview. Far from the light of heaven, 2 years in between the last one for the good of the realm. What was those 2 years like? What was were you did you start writing immediately after the 2023 release?
Yeah, I'm pretty much always about a step ahead. So, right when For the Good of the Realm came out, we played at a festival in Salt Lake City called Crucial Fest. And then we went on tour for a week or 10 days after that. Then a couple months later, at the beginning of 2024, we did a Canadian tour. And then we played at Cascadian Midsummer 2024 with Wolves in the Throne Room and some other bands. And then we kind of took most of 2024 off to finish writing. So by that point, I had written 80% of the album. I'm kind of always creating. I'm always in go mode. I'm always doodling. I'm always making little demos. I'm never idle, basically.
Yeah.
And so when the time came for us, like, okay, it's summer, we're home, let's buckle down and let's get this done, by the end of the year. And so the other guys and I sat down and we workshopped and woodshed and rewrote and rehashed and worked a lot of things out. So it's kind of been go, go, go in some way or another. We're not always like a publicly busy band, but we're always doing something. When we're not writing, we're touring. When we're not touring, we're writing or doing other things or um, working on upcoming music. And like right now, I'm trying to work on booking stuff like a tour or whatever for next year. So
Yeah.
like there's always something happening. So we had a lot more attention from For the Good of the Realm than we had anticipated. It kind of blew up in a way that I certainly did not anticipate, and I'm
Hmm.
very very thankful for. So everyone who gave me your money, thank you so much. But it was unexpected, and
Yeah.
so there was a lot of catching up and being like, oh well, shit, how do we do this? And then it Barry Ann was very helpful, and she guided me through a lot of the label part of it, and then I informed her a lot of like how the band stuff works, what are bands looking for from a label, what does the label need from the band, and just kind of mutually learning that way. And um so it was a period of growth. And then
Mm.
there's an interesting thing where when we wrote For the Good of the Realm, it kind of was just whatever we wanted to do. Like I'd put out the first album when I was still doing solo stuff in 2020, the Fate of Kings and Men, and that kind of like got some hits, but flew under the radar for the most part, with the exception of a couple of reviews. And then For the Good of Realm dropped, and that popped off for us, and that um, kind of did this thing where it's like, shit, people are going to expect stuff from us now. Where it's like, okay, so we've come forth very loudly with this like castle metal medieval thing. It's going to be fierce black metal with the castle metal stuff, and that's what people are going to expect. And whether or not that's actually something that happened in the world or was self-imposed, I don't know. It probably was self-imposed, and
Hmm.
in the sense I'm like, okay, they're going to expect this from us now. So it put a lot of pressure on me as the primary dude in the band to deliver on that expectation. Um, can I one up myself? Can I do better than I did? Is For the Good of the Realm my master of puppets and I'm washed? Like, so there were a lot of caffeine fueled nights like that, trying to just out outdo myself essentially. Um, and so basically what we came up with was Far from the Light of Heaven, because we had a lot more compositional input from the other guys this time. It was a much more collaborative process. So it sounds different from For the Good of the Realm. I don't think negatively, but some parts are a lot lighter, some parts are more power metally, some parts are a little heavier, some parts are much slower. I think it sounds more varied due
Hmm.
to the input of different creative forces. For some people, that's been really really cool, and for some people, they've not cared for that. But for the most part, as far as I'm concerned, it's been incredibly positive. And it's like we learn something new every day through booking our own tours, coordinating label stuff, trying to figure out how to be a band that's spread across the map. Like every day is something.
Yeah. And no, you're talking about tours, and if correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty sure from our communication that you're going on tour pretty soon. Is that correct?
Yeah, I fly back to Boise tomorrow
Okay.
afternoon, and then we kick off the tour next Friday in Salt Lake City.
Who are you playing with?
In Salt Lake City, we're playing with Stench Descent and another band called Chasm Lurk.
Okay. And I got to ask you too, involved with touring, what did you get to learn from touring with Within the Throne Rooms? What did you get to pick apart from those guys?
So we didn't tour with them. We just did a one-off festival,
Okay.
but they were incredibly nice to us. It's interesting to see the different production elements or how many people are involved in something like Wolves in the Throne Room, who I think, if I remember right, when we saw them were a four-piece band, but they had a crew of two or three guys who
Hmm.
were setting up their guitars, setting up their drums, whatever. And so in the way that it's like, oh, cool, jealous, it also was like, okay, so to do this, full on a mostly full-time basis, it gives you kind of a goalpost to shoot for in terms of like, okay, so it might not be feasible for just the four of us to do everything all of the time. We might need to eventually find extra people to come on tour with us to handle our merch or to handle gear or whatever it might be. I also got to meet um, the guy who plays bass for Wolves in the Throne Room, Galen, and befriend him and talk to him online a bit. And he was touring with Holder when they came through Boise. His band was, so I got to see him again and just catch up and stuff. And so it was very cool. It was also exciting because we got to play right before Wolves in the Throne Room. So there were a lot of people there who were watching us who I think were there to see Wolves in the Throne Room. But it was cool to, as an opportunity to get to pickpocket somebody else's audience for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've been that kid in a festival who's like, I'm here for this band, but whoa, this band is before them. I wasn't expecting it, but they're very good, and now I'm a fan of this band.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that happens.
Yeah.
So I hope that you were able to gain a few extra listeners from that experience.
I think that experience has probably been, if I had to narrow down like one performance that was like the most singularly beneficial to us as a band, I think it might have been that one.
Wolves in the Throne Room. I don't think many other bands, maybe Weakling, have just mastered atmosphere in black metal to the extent that they have. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the moments in like, especially I think my favorite Wolf in the Throne Room album is Diadem of 12 Stars. Just breathtaking.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's subtle. It's it moves slowly and takes its time, but all of a sudden you're washed by these massive moments. And I don't know how just their level of composition is unparalleled.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very dense, but in a way that isn't oppressive.
Mhm.
Uh, and it translates live. Like they're recreating that oral experience live. Like a lot of times when you see a band, there's something that's lost in translation. Like you see a band like, the record was better. Some energy doesn't translate. A lot of times compositional elements or arrangements don't get translated live. But I would say that they're one of the few bands I've encountered that I'm like, no, that sounded like the record, if not better, just by having the live noise around you, like the pushing air of the guitar cabs. And no, they were incredible. If you ever get a chance to see Wolves in the Throne Room, and to whoever's watching this, absolutely do it because you will not be disappointed.
They are one of the bands that I have not seen yet. So yes, I very much want to see them.
Yeah,
My dog is very
incredible.
active right now and in the background. Um, uh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you got to meet them and play with them and pick up some of their audience. That sounds like an incredible experience, and I'm very happy for you.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Well, some people call me a metal journalist, and I think that's a weird thing to call me because honestly, in reality, I am a video game journalist who only for some reason interviews metal bands. And
Sure.
I I see the Elden Ring poster, I see the Skyrim up
Mm.
there, I see the Diablo. I gotta ask, what are you playing right now?
Claire Obscure Expedition 33
Okay, I
is
haven't
was
played
what
it
I'm
yet,
on at the moment.
but I have I am very familiar with the hype. So
Yeah, it's so far it's incredible. It's very French. in a weird way that like it's a bunch of very British voice actors who occasionally do a French accent to say like a couple of French words. But I mean, aesthetically, it's very French. It takes place in kind of like a late 1800s French
Mm.
world, French inspired world. It's amazing. There's some gameplay stuff that's a little quirky about it, but so far, like the performances, the graphics, the gameplay experience is wonderful.
Isn't the voice actress who played Shadowheart in Baldur's Gate 3, isn't she also in Clair Obscur?
I couldn't confirm. I haven't picked her out. If she is, it hasn't caught me.
I saw some like video of her like doing some voice stuff that came popped up on my algorithm, so I thought maybe that's
Hmm.
accurate. But yeah, we don't have to
Yeah,
confirm
she
that right
hasn't jumped out to me, but I'll have to listen next time I play.
now. Yeah. Right now I am playing an older RPG that I've never played before that my best friend turned me on, called Shadowrun Dragonfall. I don't know if you're familiar. Um,
That doesn't seem familiar.
yeah, no, it's really cool. It's a very cyberpunk-esque RPG, but it
Okay.
takes the stereotypical orcs and dwarves and all those and just like plants them into a futuristic context. It's just very interesting to see like an orc in like a suit
Oh,
and
sure.
using like hacker material. It's just like
Yeah.
it's very different, but I don't know. The just the leveling up system, the turn-based combat, it's done really well, and I highly recommend it to anyone watching right now. It's a game I'm obsessed with.
When did that come out?
I think it came out in like 2013.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So see, that wouldn't be 360. That would be no, that might be 360 still or
Let's
PS3.
let's see what it came out on.
I'm
And
bad.
I'm
I'm
playing
bad
it
at
on the
generations.
PC, but
Oh, okay. It's like I'm bad at generations.
um yeah, it came out on the Xbox One and the PS4.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it actually was on the Switch as well. But yes, I've been playing on PC. What do you typically play on?
Most of the time I play on PC lately.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm usually an Xbox guy.
Okay. Cool. I mainly PC, but I do have a Switch as well for Nintendo exclusives.
Yeah,
Um,
the only thing I've played on Switch was Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Other than that, I have zero interest in the Switch. Like just the Nintendo platformer stuff is like it's not for me. Like I'm not interested. Like my wife loves playing Kirby. She'll play what she get Mario Party, something like that. But most of the time, I'm just not interested in what Nintendo's doing outside of Zelda.
yeah, no, that makes sense. That was the first game that's the game I got a Switch for was Breath of the Wild. Um, I don't know, I do love Kirby. Um, okay, so I love Stardew Valley,
Sure.
and that's one of the games I've played the most of. So I thought I would love Animal Crossing because I thought it was like a very similar genre. And
Yeah.
so I started playing it on my Switch a couple months ago, and for some reason it just hasn't clicked for me in the way that that game has clicked for other people.
I've never played Animal Crossing, but I got pretty turned off to the idea during the pandemic when everybody
Yeah.
got sent home and it became impossible to get a Switch because everybody went and bought a Switch so they could play Animal Crossing and set up fascist little governments based on acorns and peaches on their little islands. And all I remember is people posting on Facebook like, "Hey, come join my island," blah blah blah, like a little raccoon in overalls. And I'm like, "That's not what you look like, Matt."
No.
But yeah, that it just was like I was inundated with Animal Crossing content at the time, and I was like zero interested. But also not a game that would be, I think, any fun for me at all. I don't like video games that are based on chores. That's why I wasn't into like basically the first 5 hours of Red Dead 2 or Stardew Valley. I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna water crops for fun in my downtime. I think that's not for me.
I understand that. I think the difference between Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing for me is that Stardew Valley is, well, yeah, there is the chore aspect. It's very goal oriented. Like there's the community center. It shows you
Hmm,
what the goal is. It shows you, and there is steps to get there, and there is like a plan that you can create. And I like that. Animal Crossing just feels like you're doing whatever you want to decorate your island, and that's cool, but it just doesn't hit my brain the same way as like games that have
sure.
like very defined tasks.
Yeah. Yeah, guide me a little bit. Like it doesn't need to be linear, but give me something to go for. But if it's just, hey, come set up an island and be a little pig that runs a farm. I could do that in real life. I'm good. Thank you.
Now you said you were very influenced by early Blizzard games. Any in particular?
Yeah, Warcraft 2 Tides of Darkness. When I
Okay.
was when I was 8 or 9 years old, I had that on PC. I think the thing was labeled a CD-ROM at the time, and we had Windows 98. And I would wake up early in third, fourth, fifth grade. I don't remember the exact time frame, but I would wake up early before breakfast so I could play for like 30 minutes before I had to go to elementary school. Like I would take the booklet with me to class and like show my third grade teacher like an orc with a beheaded alliance guy. And I'm pretty sure she thought I was deranged. And maybe that explains a lot about who I am. But yeah, Tides of Darkness was an early grabber for me. Diablo, Warcraft 3 when it came out. I remember being so excited about Warcraft 3 and then Reign of Chaos. And then yeah, from there it was like Heroes of Might and Magic. Um I remember playing Morrowind on the original Xbox, which in hindsight was terrible but fun. And then obviously Oblivion, Skyrim,
Yeah.
all that good stuff, Chivalry, World of Warcraft. Played Lord of the Rings online for a little bit, and that's not awesome. I wish someone put some money into that.
I've never played World of Warcraft, and I feel like I should try it just because, I mean, people who watch the show know that I am very committed to another MMO, old school RuneScape.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I have put in days, weeks, months. I think my main account's logged in time is around over 250 days logged in. But I haven't played World of Warcraft, and I feel like if I played World of Warcraft, I would get addicted and I would be really love it. So maybe I should just avoid it.
I have a interesting relationship with World of Warcraft in that I play it. For one, I'm always reticent to pay for it. Like the monthly pay to play thing has always bothered me.
Yeah.
But I usually like my sister will get me a gift card for my birthday, or she'll buy me 3 months of WoW or whatever, and I'll play with her for a couple months, and then I get bored. And there's something about the endless nature of an MMORPG that just isn't appealing to me because I never feel like I'm gonna like get to the top of that mountain. It's like, what am I gonna do? Hit level 100 and start over? Like, no. Like, I want to beat it. I want to conquer something, etc. So I like it. It's fun. It does hook me when I am playing it. But there is something about like, oh, this is never going to end that creeps into my brain, and then I'm no longer interested. Which is interesting because I am a fairly regular player of Elder Scrolls Online, and I think that was because I paid $9 one time 10 years ago, and it's good for the rest of my life. I can just play it whenever I want, and I actually like it a lot. Um, but I'm also not someone who likes to play video games with other people. Like I don't want to raid. I don't want to do anything party based. I want to log in by myself and like listen to music and go hunt or find assassinate whoever, find the golden ring, whatever it is. But like I just want to play by myself. So like the social aspect of games is really lost on me for MMORPGs. And pretty much anytime another person ever does anything to me in a game, it like ruins my day. I'm like, don't interact with me, random person. I don't want to talk to you.
uh yeah, I get that. I will say in terms of MMOs, at least in RuneScape, the PvP stuff is very optional. You do not have to engage with other players in terms of like a combat based. You do kind of have to interact with players in sort of a sort of a trading sense. Um, but if you want to play by yourself, you very much can. Now, I understand also when you're talking about WoW, the monthly subscription being a deterrent, and I wish every MMO was just um, pay once and then you got it.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. I think it's hard because MMOs are so based on like adding new content constantly. I'd rather have the monthly subscription than like have a more like pay to win
Yeah.
sort of approach because that is an instant turnoff. I do not want that. I do not want to be inundated with okay, if you pay this much money, you get this weapon.
I
That is
hate microtransactions. I don't want to
yeah,
pay. I don't want to pay to be good at your game. I would
no.
like to grind to be good at your game. And I
Yeah,
think some of that, the reason that the subscription model is lost on me is I play a lot of other stuff, and I do not know very many people who are very into WoW that play a lot of other things. I know a lot of people who are really into WoW, and they're like, that's what they play. And so,
Yeah.
if you're paying $10 a month, $12 a month, whatever it is every month, instead of picking up, a full MSRP game every other month, whatever, it probably evens out. But I don't know very many people who are borderline addicted to World of Warcraft who are also playing other stuff. So I'm sure it kind of comes out in the wash somewhere.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. MMO players play MMOs.
Yeah.
That is I think a very fair assessment.
Like I know way too many people who are like, oh yeah, I play Call of Duty. And then blank stare after that. Like they don't play other games. It's like I play Madden, I play Call of Duty. I'm like, okay, cool. I bet your favorite food comes from the gas station.
Yeah.
Like not to dog on Call of Duty people, but it is a it's a thing for sure.
I think it was kind of elitist for me, but the other day I was asking my best friend, like, I was like, wait, you can get Madden on Steam? What kind of bro buys a gaming PC? Like that's just like
Yeah, I mean, most of the bro gamers I know are not doing it on PC.
yeah,
It's for the people who want the highest specs or
yeah,
the best water rendering on whatever game they're playing.
yeah. Um, Skyrim, I see it up there.
Yeah,
Is that your favorite of the Elder Scrolls?
of the Elder Scrolls, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I haven't played the Oblivion remaster. Oblivion didn't hook me like it did for everybody else that I know. Oblivion was where Skyrim or Elder Scrolls like really got its teeth into me. So yeah, I would say overall, it's probably my favorite game ever.
okay.
If not, it's definitely like top five. It's certainly the game I've played the most out of anything. I've got to have 1,000 hours into Skyrim, if not more.
Yeah, no, I prefer Skyrim to Oblivion. I've never played Morrowind. I know. Cancel me now.
It is, well, for one, it came out in like 2001 or 2002, like
Yeah,
original Xbox, and it is rough. It's it was cool back in the day, does not hold up. And everyone's like, "Oh, let's do a Morrowind remake." I'm like, "How about we get Elder Scrolls 6 and we quit, polishing a turd. Let's do something new." So,
my problem with Oblivion, I never finished it, was it was so repetitive. You kept going through those portals just over and over and over again.
yeah, yeah, go through the Oblivion Gate, kill whatever Daedra are inside, go report back to the guy, collect 12 gold, go find another Oblivion Gate. It also was pretty easy to become fairly OP in that game. Like I don't know if you ever played enough to discover the hack where if you just kind of like jumped enough times, it would get your athletics score so high that you could kind of basically fly.
Yeah.
And it was a little broken for for my taste.
Hmm. No, I had a conversation with a friend that was like, yeah. I asked her because like I said, like I don't have much experience with Oblivion. I was like, is Oblivion a good game? And she's like, define a good game. I mean, yeah, you can level up your players so much that you can literally just skip dungeons. You can literally just jump across it. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
that does turn me off.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not interested in like generally hacking the game or trying to cheat my way through it or like uh yeah, like find my way around. I forget the nerd term for it, but yeah, I would like to just play the game and be reasonably challenged, but like fair. And that's I think one of the things I like so much about something like Elden Ring is that like it's hard, but it's not unfair. Like
Yeah.
it takes a lot of work. You have to learn how to play it. But if you're good, you will be succeed. You will be rewarded. You will succeed. But it doesn't like unfairly punish you.
I remember my playthrough of Hollow Knight. Um, that was a difficult game.
Mhm.
Um, I remember spending 2 hours on boss fights sometimes, just trying to figure out how the fuck to beat this boss.
Yeah.
Um, but never did it feel like impossible. It always felt like, oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. I'm just not mastering
Mhm.
it yet. And I'm like,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
games
It's
can do
not.
that, I love that.
Yeah. It's not impossible. I'm just not doing it right.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to metal because one thing I want to ask you, you are my first person I've interviewed um, since after the death of Ozzy, and
Oh,
I just
sure.
I just need to ask you, like, what was your reaction to the news?
Sadness.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get canceled for this. Ozzy was never. a person who loomed large in my musical development or my life. Like obviously, I really appreciate Ozzy's, pioneering of the genre and who he was, in the zeitgeist of metal music or heavy
Yeah,
music in general. And I like a lot of the hits and loved Randy Rhoads and all that stuff, but like not a huge Black Sabbath guy.
hmm,
The 80s Ozzy stuff, with the exception of like, Bark at the Moon or Crazy Train, stuff like that, just was not on heavy repeat for me. And I think
sure.
some of that might be um generational. It could be like when I got into music or when I get into metal specifically in my life. But yeah, like Sabbath was never big for me. The mid 80s Ozzy stuff was never big for me. Certainly anything after the 80s, like the Zach Wild Ozzy stuff, was a complete miss for me. So it's like I liked Ozzy, and I have very fond memories of watching that TV show he had on MTV, The Osbournes. Like I used to watch that with my dad when I was in, I think, middle school or early high school. He thought Ozzy was hilarious, but
Yeah.
it was not. He was not a figure that loomed large in my musical development. Like I liked the guy. I'm sad that he's gone. I kind of wish it would have been Sharon instead, but he he'll be very sorely missed. It kind of reminded me of like when Dio died. It was like fuck. And or like even Chris Cornell. Like when like Chris Cornell's death really hurt for some reason. Like I was never that big into Soundgarden, and I really hate Audioslave, but there was something about losing people in their prime that was like such a bummer. And or like when Chester Bennington died, which was, I think, was like right after the Chris Cornell thing, if I'm remembering. And so that summer sucked. But I don't know. I think it hurts a little less just because Ozzy got to live to old age. Like he had a very full and successful and much beloved life. And I mean,
Yeah.
Parkinson's is a crappy way to go for sure. But it was cool to see the footage from him doing that concert and them donating all that money. And he's a good dude and he will be missed. But I think I don't necessarily like the adage of like, well, he's in a better place. But I imagine there's some sense of relief of he's not living with Parkinson's anymore.
Yeah,
So,
I think he should have retired like 10 years ago, in my
oh,
personal
absolutely.
opinion. Yeah. I don't know why he felt the need to constantly tour. Like he just wouldn't stop. Um, he just,
I
just,
don't
just,
know.
I mean, he even admitted like I can't do this anymore, but I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
Um, for me, like I never was crazy into the solo stuff, but I do love Black Sabbath. I just, I think as you said, like I recognize that like I don't we wouldn't be here talking heavy metal if it wasn't Ozzy Osbourne. Like there wouldn't
Right.
be heavy metal. So like there has to be. I mean, just there has to be recognition. Like
Mm-hmm.
like the he invented this genre. I mean Black Sabbath did, but like obviously he was a
Yeah.
huge part of it. I mean,
Yeah. He paved the way for all of us.
yeah, and just like some people say that like he wasn't the greatest vocalist, but like I think just the rough around the edges vocals is what heavy metal is built around. So
I could point out 100 popular bands that don't have the greatest vocalists. Like
yeah.
that's not what it's about.
Ozzy couldn't wasn't the didn't have the range of like I don't know, say a Rob Halford, but
Yeah.
the 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 guy had a style. Like he had such a unique sound.
He was a force of personality, if nothing
Yeah,
else. Like
yeah,
like going to see Ozzy was about seeing Ozzy as much as it was about
yeah,
his musical ability. Sure, he's not he was not a tremendous vocalist. Like they're way better. Halford's better. Bruce Dickinson's better. Dio was way better. But do any of those guys have that same commanding presence about them like Ozzy freaking Osbourne? No.
no,
And he was iconic for a reason. He
yeah,
was heavy metal.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just feel like we couldn't not talk about it with it just being so fresh. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I see the massive collection of books there. I'm sure some of that has had to had an impact on your music. Can you enlighten me? I mean, obviously, I see the Lord of the Rings, and you've mentioned your love of Lord of the Rings. What
Mhm.
else?
Man, so many things. I am a big reader. I have a large online following where I do book reviews and book recommendations, stuff like that on my TikTok and my Instagram. Which funny enough is like my internet claim to fame is like it lately it's been books then music stuff. Like when I talk about oh I'm in a touring band, I do stuff. People are like, oh, you play music, because they only know me from book stuff. Um,
Hmm.
so it's at first it was aesthetic influence from books, like reading fantasy stuff, like any of the R.A. Salvatore stuff with like Drizzt or Lord of the Rings, the Wheel of Time, just any of the classic fantasy stuff was as a young adult or a child influential to me. And like, oh, because that was the primary mode of getting fantasy things. Like, we had fantasy video games, but certainly not as many as other genres would have. So books were kind of my gateway into fantasy and how I scratched that itch. And now kind of I read in relation to like the Weald and Woe stuff is kind of historical a lot of the time. I read a lot of Middle Ages history, medieval Europe history, stuff like that. Particularly interested in like I have a fascination with um, Christian history
Interesting.
in like an academic sense, not as in like I'm a Christian, but
Yeah.
it's an odd thing to study. So I read a lot about that, and just kind of the Westernization or the Western takeover of Christianity and how it pushed the pagans out of Western Europe and stuff like that. Specifically, like Catholicism is a fascinating thing, and some of that is just I think the aesthetics of Catholicism are really cool. Like, so there's in the town where I live, there's a cathedral called the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception,
Hmm.
and there's down the street from where I live, there's a Sacred Heart. What do they call it? Convent of the Sacred Heart or something like that. And I'm like, they have the coolest names for shit. Like the Catholics came up with the coolest name for stuff, and also just some of that stuff in relation to like the Crusades and the reclamation of the Holy Land or the Grail or whatever. Like it can be very very hard to separate the influence of Christianity from medieval Europe.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of just end up studying them side by side. But I read a lot about European history, medieval history, the Christian expansion, whatever. And a lot of that is just for personal reasons, but it finds its way um, into my lyrics and into the aesthetic choices of the band and stuff like that, song titles, like whatever. So it kind of subconsciously influences things.
That's fascinating. Because especially I'm very interested in your interest in Christian history because you probably don't know this, but I went to Bible college. I
Okay.
I was raised by a Pentecostal preacher. I was raised very, very, very pious, very Christian.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until college where I started thinking for myself and completely lost the faith.
Yeah.
But in school, we were all had to be kind of exposed to church history as just kind of part of the general curriculum. And learning about it, what shocked me was like, oh, this is bad.
Yeah.
How do you not understand that this is bad?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's when you realize that so much of Christian doctrine is based on fear.
Hmm.
And you're like, man, that is not a healthy way to live your life. But it's fascinating. Like the idea is like you just basically whip people into subservience because the alternative is worse. It's like, the idea of we should be afraid of God. I'm like, man, that's some crazy thing to have to live with. Is that like you think life sucks? You wait until you get to the pearly gates and God decides that you didn't do a good job. Like
Oh, you
it's
gotta,
it's fascinating.
you have no idea. I have to work with my therapist constantly on this because growing up as a kid, scared to always just like lose my place in like the fold and like all of a sudden I'm going to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Having to think about that every day as a kid,
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's
that
terrible for
fucked me
children.
up. Yeah.
terrible for children. But yeah, just there's the zealot dedication to, I don't know, religion into itself is fascinating because it's faith on any level is something that I think should be psychologically studied more. Maybe it is. I don't know that much about psychology, but um, there is a book here. I'll grab it. This is a special rebind cover that I received of a book called Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman, which is a medieval horror fantasy. Like it's mostly medieval horror, quasi fantasy, about a young girl from the countryside of France who can she's having premonitions of the second war between heaven and hell that's
Hmm.
going to be happening in Avignon in France. And so she comes across a disgraced knight and a disgraced priest and kind of solicits them to take her to Avignon where uh, hell is going to wage war on heaven. And it is fascinating. It's like a perfect book. It is terrifying. Like not only in the brutal medieval bubonic plague, also the sword clashing violence of everything, but just it is dripping with this constant fear of like hell is coming to earth, but you should be more scared that like the archangel Michael is coming down. Like they're going to fight, and you should be more afraid of the angels than you should be of the demons. And it is just as like terrifying. The entire thing is philosophically terrifying. It is in all levels. Like nothing good happens in this book. Nothing fun happens, but it was like gripping. It's an
Hmm.
incredible read if you're someone who likes medieval stuff or even it's some fantasy elements, but it's mostly horror, and it's amazing. And I don't find a lot of things like that, but that book was one that like really got some wheels turning for me, got some big lyrical inspiration, thematic stuff. Just I love scary Christianity, and I don't know that many things that pull it off, but this idea of like, yeah, you should be afraid of God, you should be afraid of angels because biblical angels are terrifying. So it's
Yeah.
like you really do not want God's tough ass gin joint bouncers coming down to earth because it's going to be really terrible for you. And it it's fascinating. It scratches all the itches that I look for in books. It's bloody and it's terrifying and it is so good.
I I remember talking about scary Christian shit. Um, Growing up, being told about the rapture and the tribulation, and then like the whole Left Behind series, and you don't, you almost like Christians wrote a horror themselves, even though they didn't mean it to be. Like that is such scary shit to tell kids this is gonna
Mm-hmm.
happen. That like there's gonna be Armageddon, and
Yeah, well, God flooding the earth because
yeah,
he's like, all right, we're just gonna start over. We're gonna wipe the hard drive. I'm just gonna drown everything. Pick one of each and or two of each, and we'll see what gets through. Because I've had enough of you guys. Or I think it's Lot's wife that gets turned into a pillar of salt. And
yeah.
it's just like there's all kinds of terrible stuff that's happening throughout the Bible, and then to see them reiterated in like little kids books. Like I remember specifically as a child in the '90s going to Lutheran vacation Bible school in the summer with my grandma, and them giving us like a cartoon book of Abraham and Isaac, and it's got like Isaac on the thing, and Abraham's holding a knife. And like as an adult, I'm like, that was a really fucked up thing to do.
Yeah.
like yeah, I don't think you realize you're telling 7-year-olds, 7 and 8-year-olds, a story about like, oh, God told Abraham to kill his son just just as a test. Like, why is God testing people like this? Like, what is that? It raises as an adult, it raises a lot of questions about God. When you
Well,
look back on that stuff, it's awful.
it also raised a lot of questions about Abraham, like morality, like
Mm-hmm.
your religious zealotry. You put it above your kid. What
Mm-hmm.
I find that immoral. Maybe Christians think, well, if, could they believe so strongly that God really did say that? Maybe they think I'm immoral for suggesting that. But like from an outsider perspective, Abraham, that is one of the most immoral things you could do to like murder your sons for
Yeah.
your God.
Yeah. Or you get the fable about Cain and Abel, and it's like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't kill your brother with a rock. bad thing he did. And I'm like, yeah, you guys, you need to dive into this more because it's more serious than that, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Something I've been interested in lately, and there's a lot of sources for this. Guy named by the name of Bart Ehrman is a very, very well known like secular biblical scholar who kind of is a critique of a lot of stories in the Bible, but like just learning Roman history and seeing how it contradicts the stories of the New Testament.
Mhm.
Um, the Romans crucified a lot of people. That is very true, but part of the main punishment of a crucifixion, you didn't get a burial. You were left there, and you were just left to decompose.
Yeah,
The only
picked apart
time
by
people,
birds.
the only time people would get buried, um, after a crucifixion is if they had to, if the Romans wanted to appease someone powerful politically. Like there was like they crucified a prisoner of war, but they did not want to piss off the opposing faction too much. They would
Yeah.
bury the person they crucified. There's nowhere to suggest that Jesus had any of those connections. So the idea that Jesus was buried and rose from the dead is the fact that he was it's the unlikelihood of him raising from the dead. That's the wrong question. The likelihood of him being buried is the other question to be asked. Like it did not happen.
Well, and from what I understand, it was like they just put him in a cave
Yeah,
and
what?
secured it with a rock. I was like, what kind of fucking burial is this? That's not a burial. Like you bury people in the ground. You just put a corpse in a cave. That's not
Yeah,
a burial. Yeah, and there's like just a lot of this stuff. If you look at it from an analytical point of view, for one, I think people who take the Bible as historical like fact, I think that's kind of silly. I think I look at Christianity in a lot of way that I look at like Norse mythology, where I'm like,
yeah,
these are tales about how to be moral and ethical, and how to be a good person and stand up for yourself. I forget the technical term for those kind of things, but I said fable earlier, and that's not correct. But parable is the word I want.
yeah,
Where it's like they're stories designed to educate you about how to do something, to instruct you. But I think there's something about taking the Bible as like a historical document. For one, it was written by like so many different people. Like there's no way.
yeah,
Um, but it also raises kind of just like you're saying about the Abraham thing, this larger question of based on what I know as an adult, as a 35-year-old cis white man on the East Coast, I know one of two things. If God exists, this all depends on if God exists. Based on all of the things that have happened in my life, my dad dying when I was young, people dying, my father-in-law dying when my wife was young, I think, you know, bad things happen. And so that means one of two things, in my opinion. Either there's nothing God can do about it, or he doesn't care. And I don't think either are good.
yeah. No, God either doesn't exist or God is evil is the conclusion I've come to.
Yeah.
Um, People will say, well, God allows bad things because of free will. Well, what are you talking about? Because God let people do things and doesn't prove that he's real to anybody. He just like makes people guess and have to believe in what they find.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucked up on himself. But the fact that like God has to send people to hell because he's just or whatever the excuse that Christians make, he made the rules. He can change the rules. He makes he
Yeah.
is God. He can change the parameters. He can change the standards. He just is choosing to send people to hell because yeah, he what are you talking about? If he's God, then he can decide whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a moving goalpost that no one knows.
yeah,
It's unconfirmable. And yeah, it's either he can't do anything about it or he doesn't care. And I both of them are not good.
right.
Like there's like based on the free will thing of like explain to me a 9-year-old getting cancer as a result of free will. Like it doesn't hold any water, like so I prefer to think that God doesn't exist because the idea of God existing and being powerless or apathetic is more scary.
The other thing that really bothers me about like Christian beliefs, so based on like the Christian beliefs of like you You confess, you believe, you repent, you go to heaven, right? Well,
Mhm.
so you're telling me that all of the Jews who died in the Holocaust, who suffered so much under Hitler, are going to hell because they had the wrong religion or the wrong view of God. But these serial killers that you believe in that converted in the last second, they're going to heaven
Mhm.
because they said the right Jesus words.
Yeah.
That is such a disgusting thing to believe.
The gas station free refills on forgiveness is like
Yeah.
wild.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
Oh,
matter what you do or how often, as long as you say you're sorry, it's cool.
and
No.
the way that like pastors who have committed terrible things to their congregation use that as a way to manipulate their audience. Like, oh, you're not forgiving me for doing this heinous thing. You're the bad person.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not a religious critique show, but sometimes
Yeah, we got on a tangent. I'm sorry about that.
no, we're good. No, it upsets me a lot. Um, well, we should keep talking about metal because that's why you're here.
Mhm.
Um, you say you're constantly writing. Have you
Yeah.
started writing something else? I know you are also in a couple other projects. People might not know, but I really like the Stone Sword Key stuff you did.
Oh, thank you.
Anything you have going on with that, or with anything with Weald and Woe that you have coming up, or any other projects you might have
Yeah.
under your pocket?
I've got four irons in the fire right now. So I've already started on the next Weald and Woe album,
Yeah.
which probably won't come out till 2027. I'm trying to keep a 2 year cycle, but 2027 ish. So I've already started on that. I've got an album for my power metal band by Fire and Sword that's written, and it just
Hmm.
needs to be recorded. And then I've got some unreleased projects that I'm working on at the moment that will be coming out hopefully by the end of the year in some capacity, at least one of them. But I'm not naming them yet because they're quote unquote secret for now. But I do have kind of a dungeon synth thing that I'm working on
Hell
that
yeah.
that kind of borderlines on almost being new age at a lot of time. But a softer ambient thing. And then I'm also doing another solo metal thing. It's not Stone Sword Key. I do plan to do more Stone Sword Key stuff in the future. I just it be because it kind of is a Dark Souls, Miyazaki universe inspired thing. It's kind of when the inspiration hits, and I haven't played the DLC to Elden Ring yet, so maybe I'll get through that and find something to inspire me about it. But so that's kind of what I'm working on. So I'm always working on something.
Dungeon Synth. I love Dungeon Synth
Mhm.
so much, but I'm always curious. Why do I like it? Why is this the what am I looking what is the term I'm looking for? Why is the Venn diagram of like metalheads and dungeon synth likers a circle? Why are metalheads so drawn to the calmest music possible?
I think, in my opinion, at least being someone who's operating in like the black metal
Yeah.
piece of that Venn diagram, the aesthetics are very similar.
Hmm.
So a lot of I always say that like dungeon synth is black metal made by people who hear video game music in their head. Those people who like black metal, but like maybe can't play a guitar, can't play the drums, can't do whatever, but they can play the keyboard or they can plunk around in Logic or Pro Tools or whatever and come up with some stuff. A lot of dungeon synth is made by people who do not actually play any instruments.
Hmm.
And I think aesthetically they operate in the same darkness, castles, lightning, blood, swords, whatever. Like there's a lot of overlap there. So I
Yeah.
think it's it's something that aesthetically appeals to a lot of people. For me, it's nostalgic in the term of it sounds like video game music to me. Like when I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons, or if I go back and play uh Warcraft 2 or Heroes of Might and Magic or whatever, that's kind of very similar music that I hear in my head. Um, Fun fact, I actually don't like a lot of dungeon synth. There's something
Okay.
up no, but to be fair, I don't like a lot of anything. Like I'm very specific in my taste. So like there are some dungeon synth acts that I really, really, really like, and they're a lot of it is kind of like, yeah, this isn't for me, but I understand the appeal. Um, and almost more of the time, it's like the album covers or the artist name or whatever that hook me a lot of times more than the music does. Um, there's a lack of heaviness and aggression in Dungeon Synth that I think is what kind of holds me at arm's bay a lot of, or arm's length a lot of the time, is like I want heaviness, I want aggression, I want it to be I want catharsis, and I don't get a lot of catharsis out of Dungeon Synth. So I'm trying to make some Dungeon Synth that scratches my own itch.
Sure.
Um, so if anything, it's more as like a compositional challenge to see if I can do it in a way that I like. And if I like it, then I'll release it. And if I don't, then I'll do something else. But a lot of my artistic endeavors are born out of a, can I do this? Let me find out. Let me try and see if I can crack this nut. And then if I can, it usually turns into some sort of project.
Hell yeah, that is a fascinating way to go about things. I don't like this. I'm gonna make it so I like it. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. Or at least in the way that's like my stamp on that thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of it is almost too ambient. Like there's a kind of meandering atmospheric element to a lot of Dungeon Synth, and that's where they lose me. Like I want a stricter I want a stricter song structure. I want there to be distinct parts. A lot of it doesn't have drums, and I'm like, give me some sort of drum. It doesn't have to be like a drum kit, but give me percussion. Like I want a stronger sense of melody. I just want it to be more, I don't know, kind of classically composed in a way that suits me
Yeah.
necessarily. And so much of the like spooky background skeleton and the crypt music just is like, it's cool for about 45 seconds, and then I'm like, next, what are we doing?
I will say that I think the dungeon synth that does speak to me the most, artists like Orang or Herman Knight do find a way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a lot of average dungeon synth out there.
Yeah.
Um, and there isn't in the dungeon synth community, I do think there isn't the most. I think the quality control in dungeon synth isn't the greatest. I think maybe that's the same for black metal too, but
Yeah, that's for both.
yeah. um, but I think for every 700 very boring, meandering dungeon synth records, there is one that is what you say, very composed, very
Mm-hmm.
has a strong sense of melody, has a direction, knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that's not, and that sounds very harsh when I say it earlier. It's a subjective thing. It's like I'm
yeah,
looking for the same, like I do the same thing in black metal. I'm like, anytime someone's like, oh, I have a lo-fi raw vampiric, I'm like, skip. Not, I know way ahead of time. I'm not interested in whatever your lo-fi vampiric raw whatever thing is. That's not something I'm interested in. Like I want a sense of production quality. I want, I don't need Transylvanian Hunger Part 48. Like that's been done. Like can we let's do something different. Like a lot of that stuff. Like you said, the quality control isn't there. And I think sometimes we get caught up in who is making the music versus the music itself. Like there are some
mm,
people who are like, oh, this is who so and so's black metal album. This is so and so's Dungeon Synth thing. I'm like, okay, cool. Just because it's that person. Like if Matt Damon made a black metal record, I'm not just going to automatically assume it's cool because it's Matt Damon and I generally like Matt Damon.
mm-hmm.
Like I don't I try to put the music in front of the personality. And I would hope that people do the same thing for me. Like I hope people don't assume that whatever I do is cool because of who I am. Like I would like for it to stand on its own merit. But there's an obscene amount of like high school clickiness and cattiness in Discord servers and people shit talking each other on Instagram in the black metal dungeon synth scenes that I'm like, it's becoming a lot in the last
Yeah.
couple of years. I'm like, this is ridiculous. We are most of us grown adults. Let's not do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll see a lot of black metal musicians who have like their metal archives profile has like 50 band. And I'm like, you're telling me that all 50 of these are good? Like just because you were in well, let's pull up mayhem. Have you ever heard of Checker Patrol?
No.
That is one of Necro Butcher's other bands, apparently. I
Okay.
I don't I'm not interested. I don't care that a Necro Butcher is in it,
No. He's
Yeah.
the least interesting person in Mayhem. I don't care.
Okay, yeah.
Like of all people, like, oh, you mean the guy who was also on his way to kill your honest? Sure, sure, you were a
Sure.
top knot. I don't care. Like,
Have you heard of Age of Silence? Apparently
oh,
that is one of Hellhammer, that is a side progressive metal project from Hellhammer. You know,
nope.
like just because it's Hellhammer doesn't mean I want to listen to that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Terrific drummer. I don't. Outside of Mayhem, I'm not familiar with Hellhammer,
Yeah. Uh,
except for the other band Hellhammer, which I don't think he's in. I think it's
nope.
just a name.
Hellhammer does play in Arcturus, who I do quite enjoy. That's that's the other Hellhammer project. But yeah, mainly Mayhem.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, black metal. Just I love it. It's my favorite genre of metal, but
yeah,
I'll admit that
same.
it's oversaturated.
Yeah, I think, man, it's when you get something like Bandcamp or SoundCloud or in anything where people have essentially free access to release their stuff, you run the risk of quality control being a problem. And quality is like a very subjective thing. So I don't want to come down like I'm the black metal police and I get to determine what is and isn't good. That's not what I'm saying. But you get a saturation of the market just by the sheer ease of access of joining that space. And I think that it overall is a good thing.
Yeah,
I think that's a very
democratization of music
positive
is
thing.
amazing.
Right. But I think we also get, you know, 52 new lo-fi raw vampiric black metal albums a year. And the thing that gets me more than anything is it's like a lot of them aren't even albums, they're demos. So then it's like, oh, here's my, Bloodsucker 2000 demo. And then that artist never does anything ever again. And then that same person will make a new thing and also call it a demo. I'm like, 8 songs is not a demo, guys. That's not a demo anymore.
No.
But demos is a whole other thing I get touchy about. So, but yeah, it's an inundated scene for sure. We have almost more artists than we have listeners at this point.
And part of that is cool. Like I think the tape trading demo like idea, I mean, is integral to metal. I mean, that's how thrash
Yeah,
started. But I I think the difference between that and now is that like not everyone who made a cassette like had it posted everywhere. Now like anyone can post it on Bandcamp and then like it's
mm-hmm.
just like considered like a legitimate thing because it was posted on Bandcamp, you know.
Yeah, like you're just as likely to get lost in the ether as you are to get discovered on something
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like I see so many bands who have amazing albums that have like 5 purchases, and I'm like, how did no one pick this up? Like this is incredible stuff. And then you see a lot of albums like, uh, for instance, who's that Ukrainian guy, Kekta Rock? That guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to say that actually, like in the correct pronunciation. I do not care for that person's music at all. But they're like wicked popular, and I don't understand it. And it's a thing. It's just so dependent on taste. It's such a subjective thing.
I think Cactus Rock, I think the reason that that blew up, I think is I like it. I do think there is like this like it's raw, but it has this like almost romantic quality that I think is kind of unique for black metal.
Sure.
Um, but I could see why it probably wouldn't interest everybody. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think it's bad. I just don't
yeah,
like it. Like it's well made. He obviously is very aware of what he's doing and he's good at it. I just don't care
yeah,
for it. But you see the same thing. You get bands who, in my estimation, are just as good, if not better, who go completely under the radar because they never reach out to a label or nobody finds their Bandcamp page or whatever million reasons. And it's a weird thing. The digital version of the tape trading has changed your availability to access in a way that we never had previously.
mm-hmm.
But there's something about the availability to access that also kind of, I don't know, in my mind, isn't limiting. It's hard where it's like if everyone benefits, does anyone benefit? And I think that might actually be a bit of a logical fallacy, but I don't know. It's like now everyone has an equal chance. And so I think it's just harder to separate the wheat from the chaff of your subjective preference.
Well, I'll put myself into this. If it wasn't for Bandcamp or you know, the digitization of the tape trading, there would
Mhm.
be no Beaver Mosh because I can't discover as many bands as I do if I
Right.
had to only rely on getting tapes sent to me. You
Hmm.
know, it just wouldn't work. But now I can see people send me a link. I don't have to listen to the whole thing, but like, oh, okay, I can listen to 30 seconds of it. I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
not for me. Pass, pass,
Yeah.
pass. But then all of a sudden, one of them clicks. I get to my buffet that I get to just choose what I get to sample is bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when there's more people playing the game, your your chances, I think, are better. I don't know. It's like an ease of access versus how many people you could reasonably listen to in one
Mhm.
week. It's a weird thing. I'd actually be interested in the statistics behind it, but like overall, I think the internet and like Bandcamp are a net good. Like I've
Yeah.
I've obviously benefited immensely from Bandcamp. Like if I had to depend on YouTube or God forbid SoundCloud or something like that, like on its own merit, no. Like so many of us are like Fiadh. Fiadh's only able to do what Fiadh does at this point in time because of Bandcamp. I mean, you have the other emergences now like Ampwall, or I think there's one other one that I forget the name of, but so like there's that market is growing. But yeah, Bandcamp has enabled independent music in a way that is invaluable.
Yeah. Um, where like when some labels aren't on Bandcamp, it's like what are you doing? I think Century Media is one of those labels that just for some reason doesn't put their music on Bandcamp. Now it's Century Media, they don't necessarily have to, but it's like I'm just like assuming that like I've come to the point where I assume that like anything I want to listen to is on Bandcamp now,
Mm-hmm.
which is for the most part is the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, all the stuff I buy from 20 Bucks Spin, I still buy through their Bandcamp page for the most part.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I'm pretty much the same. I buy a lot of 20 books in. I'm pretty sure I've bought all the records from them through Bandcamp. Maybe every once in a while, the 20 bucks spin will put like a record, like a certain type of vinyl pressing only on the website. I think they're one of the labels that does that, but for the most part, yeah, you can get on Bandcamp.
Mm-hmm.
I've even bought like older like classic records off Bandcamp because there's
Mm-hmm.
like distros there now on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, we're hitting about just over an hour. There's nothing else I had planned to ask you, but before I let you go, of course, I want to give you the floor for any last words. Any tell people where they can buy your music, tell people where they can see you, tell people your favorite taco joint. I don't care. The floor is yours. Go for
Yeah.
it.
So, kind of like I mentioned, Weald and Woe's going on tour August 1st through August 16th. We're hitting basically the entire West Coast. All that information can be found on our Instagram page. I have no idea when you're planning to post this, but I assume somewhere in those dates. Um, so please come see us on tour. Please buy merch. We've almost pretty much sold out our second run of the album that Fiadh released. So it might be very soon that the only way to pick up any copies of our album will be from us in person. I love to talk about books, so come please say hi. Come come please say hi and talk to me about books. My favorite taco joint was in the parking lot of an Advanced Auto Parts in LA. I could not give you any indication in LA where it was because it was like 2 a.m. and I just played a show. Not good with uh, the geography of Los Angeles, but gas station or not gas station, parking lot, Mexican food is the way to go.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, please listen to Far from the Light of Heaven. Uh, and I would appreciate that.
Well, thank you again, Jeff, for joining me. For everyone watching at home, as
Thank you.
always, thank you to my patrons. You keep the show running. Um, thank you to Monster Energy. You keep me running. Um,
The white one, or which one do you drink?
the white one.
Of course.
Of course, if I can find it. If I can,
Sure.
why is it of course?
That's the one everybody drinks. Like I very rarely, or maybe I should say it's the most memed monster
It
is the
totally
white
is.
one.
Yeah. Um, if I can find it, the grape one. It's
Ooh,
rare. It's out there. I've had it a few times. There is a corner store that by me that occasionally carries it, but for some reason that is a neglected flavor that more places should stock because it's so good.
I
Um,
love grape.
yeah, great monster if you can find it. It's very good. But yeah, that's all I have for you watching at home. Keep it metal. My name is Maddie. Bye.